Okay. Let's see. I guess I still need to see Roy. And Mark and Chris, can you guys hear me? Okay, I need to change. All right, there's Roy, whose shot is sideways for some reason.
How about now?
Looks good. And Mark, if I think we did this the last time, is there a way for you to not have the window in the background?
Yeah, I can move to another part of the house if you want.
If that works, if you can, that would be great.
Yeah, I thought, yeah, I wasn't thinking we were doing video.
Yeah, it's we do both.
Okay, give me a couple minutes, I'll relocate.
Okay. All right, that's way better. And I think we, yeah, yep, that's really good. So Roy, if you're ready, you ready to start? Okay, Roy and I are gonna do a little intro and then we'll bring you guys in. Hi, this is Rick Elmhorst along with Roy DeJesus, and thank you so much for listening to or watching this edition of To the Point Already. What is the future of where the Tampa Bay Rays are going to play baseball? Roy, as you know, Major League Baseball said no to the Rays' big idea of sharing a season with Montreal. I mean, they've been working on this for 2 or 3 years. They really had their hopes pinned on it. That is not going to happen. So what is the future?
Yeah, Rick, there's a lot of uncertainty as well. There's uncertainty with baseball, Major League Baseball ever happening right now. There's the lockout, and they're moving along with negotiations. But are we going to have another short season or a short spring training? So we're going to try to touch those topics and where the Rays fit and all that in today's conversation.
All right, joining us in the conversation is Mark Topkin. He covers the Rays for our partners at the Tampa Bay Times, and our very own Chris Torello. Man, it was really a big shakeup recently when Major League Baseball said no to this Twin Cities idea, whatever you want to call it. And Stu Sternberg he had kind of an unusual press conference for him. He made a lengthy statement, and then he took a bunch of questions from reporters. I guess he really doesn't do that too often. He doesn't get in the media very often. I guess you could say he was kind of honest about the whole situation. He was very disappointed. He didn't threaten moving the team necessarily, but he didn't rule it out either. Mark, what do you think about what the principal owners had to say so far?
Yeah, I mean, I think it was really clear. I know there was a lot of skepticism in the Tampa Bay area about this plan, but I think it was really clear. You didn't think before when you saw that press conference and what Stu Stubber had to say, and we talked to a couple of his team presidents as well, and they weren't crestfallen. They truly believed in this. They were invested in this. They kind of have this saying, trade deadline. They don't ever like to go all in on players because they feel like they have enough. But they admitted in this case they were all in on this. So I do think it really kind of set them back. I think it's surprising that MLB is the one who rejected it. There were going to be some issues maybe later on in the process. But, I think maybe just to clarify or take another way of what he said is when he was asked if he was going to discuss commission team relocation, he said no. Now, obviously that could change at any point, but I think I kind of came away from that thinking their first intention right now is to try and find a full-time solution here in the Tampa Bay area. They've tried a couple times before, it hasn't worked. Playing them, playing St. Pete, playing Tampa, depending on which version you look at. But the reality is the clock running, and that's the plan. It's going to take a group effort.
When you say the clock is running, and I'll let either one of you guys comment on this, their lease with Tropicana Field is set to expire, and I don't think they really envision wanting to play there longer than they absolutely have to. So if they're going to build a new stadium somewhere, whether it be in St. Petersburg or say maybe in Ybor City, they've got to come up with a plan really quick. Chris?
Oh, I was going to let the expert, I was going to let him keep going. I enjoy listening to stuff more than I enjoy talking. But we've all, I think everyone's getting sick of it, to be honest with you. What I think, I think General Wyndham says they've got to find a solution within these next few seasons at maximum. I think, we heard Stu Sturmer in that press conference say he's going to be looking to the scans this season. I don't know if that's really going to make the case about, because a lot of people watch the Rays. They've got really good television numbers. They always have people watching. So I'm not sure if that's the best indicator that there aren't passionate Rays fans throughout the Tampa Bay area. But yeah, I think it would be a lot easier for the folks in St. Pete to drop to kind of say, okay, if you want to start moving towards that next stadium, I think they would be a little bit okay with them going over there as long as it was to say a place like Ybor City. But they're probably going to have to consider some other sites. I just think they can't just put all their eggs in one basket again, and that's something I think Stu emotionally is really doing in this situation of having this season.
Mark, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of what Chris said is true. I would think the timeline is probably about a year, or maybe 14, 15 months. But it takes about 3.5 years to build a stadium. You're going to need some front-end time from obviously prepping the site, environmental issues, depending on where you go, and working out a financing plan. So, we're in the words business here. You can do the math on this. They probably need to know sometime in 2023 where they're going to play on April 1st, 2028. Now, look, if they're staying here in the area and they needed to extend for a year, the problem because they had to get things done, that probably could happen. If they're going to another place, Nashville or Charlotte or Raleigh or somewhere, there's stadiums there that could be rigged up to be in our home. So it's not necessarily a hard deadline, but I think work this out, relatively smoothly wherever they're headed. They're first, they're having to figure it out. I also think that they are going to keep everything on the table with Tampa area. Before, obviously, on top of now, but they're going to let St. Pete out. Negotiate and St. Pete might be able to get them a better deal even. They're in the middle of that trying to get their redevelopment of the drop site worked out. So there's a lot of things they can look at. I just don't know where we're going to go first, and I'm not sure they know because they really think they're in this position on it.
Roy, I'm going to give you a chance to chime in.
Yeah, to the point that Chris was making is that everyone's sick of
I've heard people throw around the figure of maybe $1 billion to build a baseball stadium. So let's say you decide we are going to build $1 billion baseball stadium in Ybor City. Well, who pays for it? You know, that's the big question. Is Stu Sternberg going to put in $500 million for a baseball stadium? Are the taxpayers expected to, pay a whole $1 billion? Of course not. And if you're Stu Sternberg and you're looking at the really bad attendance numbers at Tropicana Field, is that a gamble you want to take? There's no guarantee that if you build a new stadium, fans are going to turn out. If you got an average attendance of 12,000 officially, does that justify spending $1 billion? I don't think so. What do you guys think about whether or not fans would actually turn out in person to watch the Rays play in maybe a better stadium in a better location?
I'll go first. I think that is the most important question. And I think part of the reason that the 2017-2018 plan to build Ybor didn't come to fruition, there obviously were financing issues on both sides. But I think nobody was convinced that that was going to work, and that was the solution. Is that going to get them from 9,000 or 12,000 fans a game to 20,000 a game? What about middle pack or so? I mean, we've seen that draw 30 to 40,000 a night and average that, and obviously a bigger market. They want to get somewhere in the middle of the pack to make it work. And the other answer to your question, Rick, is who's going to pay for it? Everybody's going to pay for it somehow. I mean, the team's not going to pay for all of it. That's just not how it works. The city isn't going to pay for all of it. The county isn't going to pay for all of it. The state's not going to pay for all of it. But I think everybody's going to end up contributing hotel tax, sin tax, restaurant districting around the ballpark. It's going to take a very complicated plan. So I don't know where the split is. And you probably can't even say, because Sternberg and the Rays pay half. Well, what are the naming rights? Are the naming rights $2 million a year or $30 million? That's in the equation somewhere. And who is the naming partner? Where does their money come from? So there's going to be many ups and downs and pieces to make this work. But if you, all the other point to make, was that Ybor, that the site they were looking at for the city plan was for a open air, smaller, one deck stadium. You're going to go to a full-time home. You need more than 20,000 seats that they were going to have. You need room for a roof. You need a larger footprint. You need more parking. You need a bigger spot of land. So that adds to the complexity of where this goes.
Just if I can, I think, the big thing is, this whole notion of fans not showing up. I think they would show up. I mean, it's clear whenever you go into a new ballpark, especially what we've seen go, whether it be the Yankees, whether it be the Mets, the Braves, the Twins. I mean, it's just there, right? Corporate support. Everyone wants to buy that suite, wants to buy tickets. Everyone wants to show their support in the community. So it may be a situation where, I've watched the Rays, and Mark, I know, has been there in Yankee Stadium on a Tuesday night or a Wednesday in the summer. It's not sold out, but it is sold out. You know what I mean? Like, the tickets are already purchased, and that's the big thing. The check is in the mail, the money's in the bank type of thing. So I think that's more important, and I think if they can get that new stadium to include Lakeland, to include more central. I think, the Orlando side, they're starting to heat up again with their own little thoughts, but I think it would include more baseball fans from that area. I do think fans from Pinellas would want to make that journey. It's new, it's exciting, and I think with everything exciting going on in the Bay Area, and it's always a growing city, it would just be the next big marquee thing. I think everyone would want to come see it. So I don't think it would be as big a problem, just judging from my experience, and also judging from what I've heard from fans on Twitter and just in regular discussions. But can we stop hating on the Trop, please? Because it's not a bad place to watch a baseball game. 72, no chance of rain. I mean, Mark was tweeting out about how there's people who've never been to the Trop just dumping on the Trop. It's a fun place to watch a baseball game, I'll tell you that.
All right, you say that. You say that, and other people say that, but statistically, people are not showing up. So do we just blame the location? I want to move on to what is next, okay? If we assume that maybe Ybor is the best location and that Stu Sternberg really does have an interest in staying in the Tampa Bay area, It seems like we're getting ready for a game of chicken. Because when you're talking about hundreds of millions of dollars, you can't go into negotiation and just say, here's what I'm going to give, and that is the real number. It seems like you have to start low and go high either side. When do we start seeing some for real negotiations and playing that game? Because so much money is involved.
Yeah, the question is, will that go out to the public, right? Mark, you're an insider. How did that all work out? We had Mayor Buckhorn here previously on the same topic, and was very he didn't pull any punches on what was going on with the Rays, but he also kind of didn't give us the insights. If they do it right, the answer to your question is we'll know the day they announce the agreement, and it's not something that plays out publicly. It goes back and forth. But obviously, with public records laws and dogged reporters that work for your station and our newspaper and other people in our market, some of that will get out. But it is a game of chicken, like you said, but also maybe it's a time where it needs to be, a focus to getting this solved instead of what can go wrong and what can go right. How do they make it happen? There is a value in keeping the team. I think Mayor Castor has shown she's interested in trying to find a way to keep the team. Been publicly saying she thinks the value in keeping it. There's difference in the business community. People say the estimates on economic worth aren't true, economic value aren't true. That's just money that people would have spent anyway if they weren't going to the baseball game. They would have gone somewhere else. But I've been in Ellis the whole time I've been here since 1983. I agree with a lot of what Chris said. It is time to try it over there. Having been Parkman Wharf during earlier in the Buck season, it was Saturday night. The Bucks were playing home the next day. The Lightning were playing that night. It was very over, and just walking around, the amount of people, just Bucks are Lightning, they're playing the Bears the next day. It's Bears here. You got that vibe. You don't have that at the Strom or First Sports Bar. First Sports Bar. Yeah, it's great. Strom. You just haven't had that. They keep growing a lot more there than it used to be. But I do think it's time to track the Tampa. Now, will it be the next best thing for a couple of years, as Chris said, and then maybe fade off and go back to where it is now? The business model of sports evolves where it becomes more of a, you don't need the bigger crowd. You have more of a TV studio production of games. There's lots of ways, fold. We're getting a little off the point, but really, everybody has to want to make it work. If they still go to the area, there's a way to make it happen.
There are lots of other cities that would absolutely love to have a full-time Major League Baseball team. Their markets are big enough to justify a baseball team. If you had to name two or three cities, guys, that might be trying to lure the Tampa Bay Rays away from us, who might those cities be?
One's got to be Nashville, if that were to come a play. I think Mark mentioned an interesting one. I think Mark said Raleigh. That's all interesting. I don't know if you look at how hard, just evidence, just looking at Oakland, how hard Rob Manfred wanted it to work out with the A's staying in Oakland. I just feel like baseball would say, nope, you're going to make it work in the Tampa Bay area. We're not giving an expansion. We're not just going to, there's so much that goes into relocation fees, all that. But I would think if MLB wants a team in Nashville, it's going to be a new team in Nashville. I think they'd rather keep the markets they have and add the markets. If they want to give Montreal a team, they'll give Montreal a team sometime. But I think in terms of luring, yeah, I think we can play that game. But I really think MLB wants this to work in Tampa.
But here's another way to look at it. We can come up with some other names in Charlotte, San Antonio, Austin, Portland, Las Vegas. We can add to that list even further. But what place did we name is a better market than Tampa Bay? You guys are in the TV business. You know that.
Yep.
Market of all those. That's certainly where a lot of the money comes from, or leads to, however you want to put it. So I don't know that any of those places make more sense than the Tampa Bay area. And what Chris said, MLB is very much being considered expanded. There's 30 teams. That's a very clumsy number to schedule with the Center League play. 32 is a lot better number. Commissioner has said several times they're not going to expand until they get Oakland and Tampa Bay situations figured
Wow.
Marlins for 1.2, the Royals sold for a million. Rays on the market now, I think they would sell somewhere in there, maybe four teams. So if MLB can get $2 million from two cities, they're not going to let the Rays kind of go chase one of those markets and eliminate a suitor that can pay them $2 million to add a team later on. And the other side of expansion is they have to share the revenues further. 32, equals to 30. But I think the benefit of expansion is also enhanced by having the Rays stay in Tampa and then expanding elsewhere. I mean, look, if the Rays leave, they move the Nationals, 5 years, they have expansion. Is Tampa going to apply for a team? I mean, like, no, it's a logical place to put a team, so why let it leave to begin with?
All right, Roy, let's move on from the Rays specifically to whether there or not they're going to have spring training or Major League Baseball at all this year.
Yeah, they kind of, the conversation right there is leading to that. That's a great segue. What is going on with Major League Baseball? So the negotiations are starting to build and become more positive. But Mark, what say you? What's going on? I think there will be Major League Baseball this season. I don't know if for sure it's going to start on time. I easily would say it's ridiculous that they would let another season be impacted. I mean, 2020, no fans played a third of the season. Players only got a third of the game. 2021, teams had severe, depending on where you were, if you took Texas, but everyone else had attendance restrictions for COVID. They had limited fans for part of the season. Player salaries went down severely in 2021. So they've got an opportunity to work this out. This is a monumental, they're not monumental issues. They're trying to resolve financial issues that are fairly narrow scope here. They should be able to get this figured out and not lose games from their, technically their 162 game season. Now, my spring training started a couple weeks late. What's that play? Does that have more of an impact here on our area? Sure it does. I mean, every one of us probably knows somebody directly or indirectly works or knows a friend who is a vendor, is a business person who works with the Yankees or the Phillies or the Blue Jays or the Tigers or the Pirates. Certainly the Rays have a big impact in Port Charlotte. So it might get cut back a little bit, but I think the goal is to not impact the regular season. Yeah, and to look at some of those numbers that we want to point out, Florida Sports Foundation did a study back in 2018. About $700 million for the state of Florida on spring league. That's what it generated in 2018. So, obviously there was pandemic after those years, so you kind of get, a little mixed up. But, we are the free state of Florida. We have visitors coming over here, so and our economy's doing, by all regards, very well. So it wouldn't be a hit. It would not be good if we have to have another sports season and a Rays version of spring training.
Yeah, I agree with that, and I also think there's a lot of excitement around the Rays, whether you plan on going to the Trop or you're watching on TV. The sooner the better to get the interest back into this team after what they've done over these last few seasons. I mean, especially after the Wander Franco. Look, everyone can talk about the Rays, and I remember the joke after they signed Brandon Lau. Oh boy, big spenders, $24 million, and now look what they're doing with Wander. I mean, they're opening their wallets a little bit, and I think they're starting to, they believe in their process. And I think it's so much fun. Spring training is new life begins, right? So, I think to your point, Roy, it's a great time for people to be able to travel up and down the Gulf Coast, especially, and to go take in these games, to see the future of the game. And, last year I remember sitting with Mark on the final day of spring training. I think we were separated by a few tables because the rules were still in place. You're all still wearing our masks outside. It was like 80 degrees up in Lakeland. And, this year it's a little bit more normal, right? We're not going into spring training probably with that protocol outside. So I think there's a new sense of normalcy in that respect. And I think fans want to get back to baseball. I think any sort of, I think spring training, okay, game condensed, but yeah, they got to get that season going right at the end of March, beginning of April, because I don't think baseball fans have the patience for all these people to, the money we're talking about. I don't think fans are going to be turned off. And Rays fans don't want to be turned off because some of them already turned off.
All right, Spectrum Bay News.
I wanted to just point again what Chris said earlier on. I mean, yeah, we can get dragged down by the politics and the economics of the soap opera that is the Rays situation in Major League Baseball. But what a heck of a product are we watching? It is very exciting baseball we're watching from the Rays. So
All right, Spectrum Bay News 9's Chris Torello and the Tampa Bay Times' Mark Topkin. Thank you so much for joining us on To the Point Already. All right, guys, thank you.
All right, guys.
All right.
Stay warm this weekend, guys. Take care.
Thank you.
This is the Point Made section of To the Point Already, where Roy DeJesus and I are breaking down our thoughts on the podcast point by point. Roy, I think it would be really awesome if a new stadium got built for the Tampa Bay Rays. Maybe I'm uninformed and I just don't get it. I'm just a little skeptical, and I'm not 100% convinced that the Rays will stay in Tampa Bay.
Well, Rick, I do have to be honest, and we have to be honest with the audience here. Scoring dollars and cents, not a man, which means that, it has to be a good deal
Yeah.
for us as well. And the point I want to make is all eyes are on Tampa Bay. There's no doubt about that. We are getting the attention of the nation, so why would anybody want to lose here, right? And that's happening now. What's going to happen tomorrow? We don't know, but it's great to be in Tampa Bay. Why would the Rays want to lose?
All right, awesome. Now I just have to, I haven't gotten the warning. So I'm going to hit end. Let me get my glasses on here. Okay. Yeah.